See, I had the 1.5. I just didn't have enough. It was okay, but like if you swung out and like on a two lane and hit it, wasn't much there to get going. Yeah, well, that's the car of mine is a 2-liter turbo. You know, it's shit. I think back to like, you know, I had a Camaro for years and years and years ago. So it was a 91 over the car around. That little 2-liter turbo, he's dog. Yeah,
About a minute away from start.
it's crazy what they're getting out of those little engines. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Fire. Get that back. Then it probably had 170 horsepower.
It is 6 o'clock, March 2nd, 2026. So we're gonna get the regular city council Riverside meeting started here. So if everyone would stand and address the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Stephanie, if you take a roll call, please.
Ryan Robertson.
Here.
Kevin Key.
Here.
Tom Sexton.
Present.
Lois Schneider. Here. Chris Grinstead.
Here. Thank you. We have a quorum. First thing on the agenda will be approval of the agenda. Take a motion for that.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second it.
Motion by Lois, seconded by Chris to approve the agenda. Any discussion on that? If not, I'll ask for a vote on that. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. That motion passed 5-0. Item number 4, the consent agenda. Minutes, expenditures, and alcohol permit, Casey's General Store, 3,900.
Okay, I do have a question. We're approving the minutes for the P and Z, but they haven't approved them. So is that, I'm just saying, should we be doing a meeting behind, or?
You can take them off and bring back the next one.
I don't know, I'm just asking because we do it every time. I mean, we're approving them before they approve them. I'll take those off this one. Sorry about that.
Any more discussion on the consent agenda? If not, we'll take a motion for that.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda unless the P and Z minutes.
Also.
Motion by Kevin and seconded by Ryan to approve the consent agenda minus the planning and zoning minutes from the last meeting. Any further discussion on that? If not, I will call for a vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. That motion also passed 5-0. Up next is public forum. If anyone has anything to bring to the council, now would be the time to do it. That's actually not on the agenda tonight.
The public hearing will be next item.
Doesn't appear to be so. Up next will be the public hearing. At this time, I am going to abstain from participating or voting or discussion in this, this public hearing on, just personal reasons that it is mostly family involved. So, and I do not want to influence council members with my opinion on the matter.
So Tom, you need to ask for the city council member to take place and act as mayor pro tem.
So at this point, I'm going to ask the remaining councilmen in persons to bring forward a temporary pro tem to act on this item tonight. And we'll take a motion in a second and vote on that.
I'll make a motion for Kevin to be pro tem for this part of the meeting.
I'll second.
All right, we got a motion in a second to give Mr. Keeney the pro tem position for this next item of the public hearing. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign, and I will abstain from that vote. So that motion passed 4-0, one abstain. And with that, Kevin, I hand over the open forum for you.
Kevin, before you begin, we will have to have a motion to open the public hearing, but I did just want to, some ground rules on the public hearing since it is mostly new faces, but 3 minutes per person, keep it respectful, address the council as a body, not individuals. So other than that, I think we'll leave you guys to open it.
Well, I entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to open the public hearing.
Also.
Okay, motion by Lois, second by Ryan, 6:05 to open the public hearing. I'll call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, none. Okay, the public hearing is open. And I ask,
Abstaining.
Tom abstaining.
Yeah, I'll abstain if I'm participating in this, yeah.
For the vote purpose.
Yeah, abstain.
And I'd like to add one more thing. When you speak, if you want to speak, come up to the podium and well, just one person at a time speak. So, public hearing is open. Anybody have any comments?
Lisa Schneblin. And my lawyer had sent me a letter today saying that Leanne was supposed to be here, and she's not. An agreement between my lawyer and Leanne's lawyer for Jan, who is not deceased, and it's on the thing, she's deceased, and she is not. As an estate, it is Jan Schneblin and Ralph's estate. Jan is not deceased. Anyway, agreement between Leanne's attorney for Jan Schneblin and our attorney for us that property is to stay C2. It is not to be changed to R2. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, when we come out of the public hearing, the council will be discussing this and not, it's like going once, going twice, if you want to speak.
I'm Laura Stoner. I'm Lisa's sister. I do wish that you would consider making sure that this property was not rezoned. It needs to say C2 like it is and not to any residential. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Okay,
I'll just, for the record, we did not receive any other written or oral comments prior to the hearing. Just obligatory. There, so.
could I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to close the, public hearing.
Also.
Okay, motion by Lois, second by Ryan to close the meeting. Call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And comments?
Abstain.
So we, for the public hearing closed.
Okay, next thing is consider a resolution to approve rezoning request.
So I'd like to speak on it. So what we have here in front of the council is a petition to change the zoning of solely owned property by a state. It has been petitioned from who we know to be the legal director of that estate. They went to P&Z. They recommended a change, which was enough overstep of bounds. They are not allowed to recommend a change.
Honestly, I think it was more of a misunderstanding of, that's also on me, but I learned, what we could do with our signature the day after.
That's fine. But ethically, what we as a city need to review is, okay, we have a request and it is legal. We need to review, does this request meet our ordinances? I believe it does. The third part is, do we believe that this request would be a detriment to the city? I don't believe it is. So ethically, I don't see how we can turn it down. That's my part.
Okay, from mine, I did talk to Mickey Shields this afternoon, and letters should have went out to the neighbors. And I know that from last time when we had another situation. It's the sign, it's the letters, it's the publication. I just wanted to, get his opinion. And my thing is, I don't know that we followed all of the documentation that we should have. So that's where I'm coming from. I'm not saying that I'm against it. I don't know that it was handled the way it should have been.
I'll agree with that. There should be a recommendation from P&Z on why that request would be changed. And that recommendation should follow upon our ordinances or any detriment to the city. And that was not provided. So currently what we have in front of us is, ethically, there's nothing wrong with it.
So P&Z's role is to approve, to recommend or not recommend requests. So they get a request, in this case for R2 for this property. I guess the situation with this property itself is that it is made up of property in two different zoning classifications. So the subdivision cannot happen without declaring one zoning classification, whether it be R1, R2, C1, C2, you name it, it has to be one zoning classification. So with that being said,
Did P&Z recommend R1?
C2. C2 is what their recommendation was. But because they have a recommendation of C2, that effectively is a recommendation not to approve what was requested, because C2 is different than R2. So if in order to, I guess, other things aside, you cannot take, I guess, in order for the R2 request to be approved, because it's different than what was recommended by P&Z, you have to have a supermajority votes approval. So in this case, it would be 4 votes by city council to be able to approve that. And then, as I mentioned, in order to even approve the subdivision, the zoning has to be approved first. So if there's not support for the zoning, there's no consideration on the subdivision as of now. So with that being said, if that zoning is not approved, then you either have to declare a different zoning classification from city council that you would like to see. We'd have to republish that, go through review, making sure all application gets done, and then we'd be able to bring it back. But I think there needs to be some discussion from city council on what zoning classification would look like, because for the houses partially shaped for the subdivision, you have to declare one zoning, so you have to come to an agreement on the zoning. And if you can't do that, then there needs to be changes to the boundaries of the subdivision itself, so there wouldn't need to be rezoning done. Does that make sense?
Yes, but us classifying P and Z decision as a no, as opposed, when they thought that there was two options out there, I think is an oversight.
So that's my question too. So we vote, when we vote, if you vote no, where you're yes, where we vote, is it no for C2 or is it no
No,
for
it's-
R2?
So you are voting on the request that was made for R2.
To R2, right?
Yes. The C2 recommendation should have been made. Like I said, I did not know that you had, it was either approval or not approval before voting on P and Z. Learned that after going out to a city attorney the next day, that's how that is done. So it's either a recommendation to approve or recommendation to not approve.
So, and that's kind of where I'm at. So if we currently boil it down to where it really is, C2 should not be mentioned.
It's simply a recommend, like, the decision is on to approve R2 or not. That's
Right.
the action at hand.
Well, in the future on these, like the P and Z minutes, I think it should have said what the zoning was and what it is and what you want to change it to, because that's not clear.
Or any amount of reasoning on why it should be changed, should have been stated. But that's not where we're at right now.
Well, and I agree with Lois. In the past, we've gotten adjoining property owners or some people within a certain number of feet had to sign off.
And that's why, like I said, we had a bad situation where none of it got done.
The adjoining properties on this are all within the same estate.
No, you have the 200 foot, and the good neighbor meeting is only required at the discretion of the zoning administrator, which is our building inspector, Terry Cook. But regardless, it's something that, it's an extra thing that I think helps people get involved in beyond just the public hearing aspect of it. But in this case, it would be probably 5 or 6 different properties that aren't owned by the property owner that this property be coming off of. So it's primarily properties across the street, other than Randy and Lisa.
Okay, so I'm just trying to make sure we do the correct thing ethically and legally here.
There is an application that would answer what you're concerned about, so I'm just saying that's why I'm coming from where I'm coming from, because
I'm leaning toward, let's, have, if the interested parties are interested in reapplying, have them reapply and do things like get the signatures of the property owners and just clean it up.
I mean, Kevin, with that sentiment being said, I don't know that, like, just this cleans up the property, because you end up, say we look at rezoning the frontage of R2, like, where it's currently C1, which would include Randy and Lisa's house, just that front section. C1 doesn't have lot, size restrictions or requirements, so you would end up having to alter some lots to be able to make those, I guess, legally conforming instead of legally non-conforming. So if there would be some alterations to property boundaries that have to be discussed with the property owner. So I think right now should be, as good a time to address all of these issues in bulk. But yeah, I guess for tonight, in order for, it's my understanding that the wish of the property owner is to sell this property to Randy and Lisa. But in order for that to happen, we're gonna have to either approve zoning, try having reapplied for a different classification. That would be something the city council would be in support of, or the property owner would have to amend the boundaries of the subdivision to effectively get around having to rezone the property.
So with that being said, you go
You
first.
said you, so that they would agree to it, you're meaning which part that they would agree to, like you rezone, what part being rezoned,
So then you guys would have to agree to. So ultimately, the rezone request is gonna come before you. So if it's, C2 is, say, for example, what P and Z recommended, even though that's not what we should have had to do. If that comes back to city council, would you guys consider that sort of thing? Because, there's no reason to send it off for another zoning classification if it's ultimately come back to you and you're not going to approve it. So I think having that conversation now, I think is helpful to finalize this and make sure that we're able to get this to a point where it's
So what I was gonna say is, with that being said, is this something we should vote on, or should we table it?
I think, it'd probably be okay to vote or table it in this case, just because, actually, you could vote to just reject this request and then make sure that we do
Then what would be the reason to reject the request?
well, if you feel there are concerns about the, process that was went through to make sure that everything was done correctly, that would be one reason. Another reason to reject it is you don't like R2 as those been used for this. Effectively, it's the same vote, but, without getting a classification for it, I guess.
I'm just looking for a reason that it should be denied, that it's not a civil reason. Because that is exactly what I'm looking for. And that is ethically what we have to look for. And I'm just not seeing it.
I guess the other piece of this though is, if it were to be denied tonight, would you rather have this come back as, I guess, what feedback do you give to the property owners if that is the case? Do they need to apply for a different zoning classification? Do they need to amend the boundaries, that is, the property is not gonna be able to do anything with the property until either zoning classification is determined or property boundaries are amended, so you wouldn't have to do rezoning. Does that make sense?
Yes, we need to present a reason of why we denied this request. And right now, that's what I'm saying, I have not heard that reason.
Okay, look up the form for rezoning application on our website, Ryan, see what you think. It's right there, if you look it up now, you'll get.
Okay,
Lois,
so you're saying process?
Yeah, but, and to top that, neighbors weren't, I've been through one zoning thing, and there's 3 steps.
Okay,
It was in the paper, the sign went out, but the neighbors were not contacted, and I think that's important, for all neighbors involved. I think we have to know that we've covered our proper procedure.
Yeah.
So I don't care, whatever it ends up, it ends up. I'm just saying, I'm doing it from proper procedure and every step is covered, so
Yeah,
that's where I'm coming
and
from.
and I agree with that.
Lois said,
So if we vote that way, then we're basically, I think we're tabling it, and then it goes on for another P and Z meeting.
no, I
We
think
just
it's
go back next
to
week.
vote it down.
We go
Because,
down, and then it starts over.
Yes. Lois, you and I discussed this earlier, your interpretation of the form is our process, but, respectfully, I somewhat disagree on that, as our code is what establishes our requirements for our rezoning process. The good neighbor meeting requirement is something that's done at the discretion of the zoning administrator. I could understand the best practice would be to involve the surrounding property owners. But I don't know if it's necessarily fair to say that it's a requirement in this process.
Maybe it's not a requirement, but it would answer the questions that Ryan said why this, why that, and that it's all on that application, and it also has dates of stuff, so I'm saying maybe it's not prior to the procedure, but why do we have it on our website if we're not gonna use it? I'm just saying, like I said, it's, to me, what's right is right and what's wrong is wrong, you know, and it's, you know, I mean, we had to redo the other one, it's just, it's only fairness to the people involved, you know, the neighbors or whoever, and like I said, we do have a mess to clean up here, because if you go and do that, you and I talked about it, then we got just another divot in there. So we haven't cleaned anything up.
So that being said, would you rather see a more comprehensive look at the entire property to bring it all into compliance, both zoning and parcel size?
At this point, who's gonna decide that, you know what I'm saying? You're saying, I mean,
We as a
Kevin, you probably have more experience with zoning than I do,
I
but.
think we as a city can make rezoning requests, and then we'd also, part of that subdivided process, we have to be working with the property owner on that, but you end up, if you rezone things, you say, some of the frontage there in R2, you end up with a lot that's smaller than what is conforming, so in order to make it conforming, we would have to change the boundaries, which would have to be, you know, done collaboratively with.
I'm just saying,
I don't see it on the form.
what?
I don't see it on the form.
You said from what is it going to what is it going? That was one of your things. And then you had said, well, what's the reason? That's on there.
Yeah, but it, I mean.
I'm just saying that,
You said it was on the form, but I don't see it on the form.
what?
That a mailing has to go out.
Oh, down in number 6 or something, it says,
A complete list with current addresses of all property owners within 200 feet of property requesting the zoning change.
That's for if.
and then you have to go to the good neighbor thing in our ordinances.
That's for if the zoning administrator elects to have a good neighbor meeting.
But that's what I'm saying, there's been a lack of communication on this, that's all I'm saying, I'm not.
I understand that, I'm just trying to understand. I want us to do this correctly. And I'm looking for, you know, I'm looking at the other side of things here.
Okay, that application right there says it's an application and there's a fee due when you turn it in.
It says what?
There's a fee. You sign it saying that everything is accurate and legal,
Right.
and then you sign that and there's a $300 fee that should have been with that. So why do we have that on there? We don't need to do that.
What do you think's on there that I'm not seeing?
I'm just saying, what I heard you say is, well, what's it being zoned from to what it's being zoned? That's on there.
Yes.
And the other thing that you said,
I'm just saying, I don't see anything on this form that says
well,
that we didn't follow
I
procedure.
called, you can call Macon Shields if you want. He's been there for years, and I called him at the League of Cities. It's a free call.
Yeah.
That's why they're there,
And he's very good.
and he is excellent. But if you don't believe me, you call, and I don't.
No, I'm not saying I
I'm
don't
just
believe
saying
you, I'm just looking for what you're talking
we
about.
need to have a process written down, step by step, of how we're gonna handle these.
Oh, I agree completely.
So what we're missing is basically, we're talking about, we're missing that we didn't notify neighbors, is that the reason we're not moving
Well,
forward?
yeah, this application, I guess we don't have to do, but to me, there's a fee on it, so I don't.
Is that what the word, is that what the?
So our site plan ordinance, I don't know which chapter, the word is off the top of my head.
I think we're not.
But the good neighbors meeting section, the state said it's at the discretion of the zoning administrator.
So it's in the ordinance, not the, not
And
form.
that's, all of our processes are established by ordinance. Well, the
What
highlight
section
one
is it
that-
in?
What's that?
What section is it in?
Scroll way along, there's one site plan ordinance, it would be 167. And you're gonna look at 167, section 08.
There we go.
You look at item 1, where it says the decision on whether a meeting should be held with the discretion of the zoning administrator.
Okay.
There's no standards for requirement of the discretion, which, if that's something where there's concerns about that, discretion is not really a great way of,
Wording it.
yeah, but.
Okay, I have one more question. The planning and zoning map is part of the planning and zoning ordinance, right?
The zoning map,
That is
yeah.
official?
Yeah, it'd be like a supplementary.
Okay. I question whether we can change that ordinance by resolution, or should have to go to a 3 reading.
No, so you can rezone something and then you have to, you can update your zoning, map with doing an ordinance reading. So you don't have to necessarily do your rezoning via ordinance.
Okay.
I see where you're going on that, but you can approve rezoning via resolution.
Because it seems to me when you change
Yeah.
an ordinance, it should go through the same procedure as the original ordinance did.
Yeah, so you would, when you update the zoning map itself, is when you would do that, which I know in the past, we've done that all simultaneously together in one process, but yeah.
Any more discussion on things, or somebody want to make a motion on however they feel? Anybody?
So we're waiting for a motion to either vote on it, is that what we're, or approve it, or mean, or
Yeah.
it's approved, is that what we're waiting on? If we're done talking.
Is
I
everybody-
mean, if we're done talking,
Is
we might as well
everybody-
do something.
It needs to be voted on, yeah.
And if you would, say if it's a motion to approve a resolution, but if it's a motion to, deny it, you could just do that as a simple motion.
Oh, yeah, I see.
I think we should probably put it at the vote.
Yeah.
I don't think it's gonna go anywhere, but I think we should put it at the vote.
What number is it?
It's,
Yeah. Here you go. It would be 2026-08.
08.
Correct.
So I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2026-08, approved request to rezone property. Whereas under section 165.27 of the city of Riverside, of the Riverside Riverside City Code, zoning regulations, restrictions, and boundaries may from time to time be amended and supplemented, changed, modified, repealed, provided that at least 7 days of notice of time and place of such hearing shall be published in a paper of general circulation in the city. In no case shall the notice be published more than 20 days prior to the hearing. This would be changing the listed property from its current zoning to zoning of R2.
Anybody second that?
I'll second the motion.
Okay. Motion by Ryan, second by Chris. It's a roll call vote. So, Ryan,
Aye.
and I'll vote no. Lois,
No,
Chris,
Aye.
and Tom abstains.
Abstain.
So
We get that one more time, it was a yes, no, abstain, no, Chris?
no,
Yes. Yes, okay, so 2-1, motion would fail because this would require a supermajority, so 4 members out of 5 to pass. So with that being said, the request was denied, and then there would be no action available to be taken on the subdivision request.
okay, are we all done with this subject?
I guess, in final conversation, where would you like to go from here? I think that's something I still need some direction on here when I'm talking to the owners of the property. Is this simply a zoning issue, a classification? Is it a property boundary issue? Is it simply a process and you want it done differently? Like you want video reading even though whether it be part of this? What's thoughts on this?
Well, the process, I don't know how you do it, but these maps are not real clear on here. If you could.
It is 2026, it'd be nice if they gave us a satellite view.
This is zoning right here, obviously the one that's colorful, kind of have to overlay with what the plat is,
I
but
kind of laid it out on Beacon to get an idea, but
given that if you look at page 11 of the packet, like the flagpole section of the flag lot, that would be is currently C1, and then the rectangular bottom southern portion is in C2. So because of that, you have to have either a zone, like you have to declare one zoning classification for this, or you have to amend the boundaries so that you don't have to rezone. Does that make sense?
And then, like I said earlier, the agenda needs to say what the zoning is now and what it proposes to do. Just
so he's asking what you want.
Is there different classifications?
What are you gonna say to the owner, what do you want said to the owner, and what do you want said to P&Z if this gets back to them?
So the owner making the request, R2, is R2 acceptable, and it's just process, you have concern with you want that to make sure it's done properly all the way through, or is C2 something where, I know that was P&Z's request, regardless if, say R2 goes back and P&Z wanted to be C2, so they make a recommendation not to approve this, this comes back to still requiring 3/4 of city council's approval in 4 votes. Would this have 4 votes if it came back to you? That's, I think, ultimately what I'm trying to get to, so I can know which way to go, so we're able to make sure we can see it through. Lois, is it process the primary thing for you?
Yeah, the process is very important. I just think we all need to get on the same page. I don't think that the P and Z had full, I don't think that the council, I don't feel like I just think there wasn't enough documentation to, and I'm not blaming you, I'm just saying that there's a process, and we gotta follow it.
If R2 was brought back, which what the request was, is that something you would consider? I'm just trying to get consensus on, from city council on what we would approve. Considering that if it was different than what P and Z recommended, is that something we would move forward with, or is essentially what can we get consensus on? Because if we need to have it's either we can pass it with 3 votes, if it's C2 based off of what P and Z's prior input was, or.
I guess I myself would like to know if Terry is the P and Z administrator or whatever his title is. I think he would give us a better understanding of this, and I like Kevin to look at those plats.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mean, there's a, like if he's the administrator, we've had no contact, it's come to us from the P and Z with really no communication from any, what I mean, if the chair or something. I just think that there's a lack of communication, and I'm not blaming you, I just think that we need to be very careful in this. It is the process, yeah, I would say it is the process.
That's what.
Whether we need to have it or not have it, we have it on, so if you had somebody else, that they want to rezone, they go in and they find that form, they're gonna bring it in, I'm not downing that it wasn't done, you know what I mean, but it should have been, whether it's part of the process or not, we need to make it part of the process.
Why do you just, it seems like if, R2 is something you would get behind, then you could have them re-request that and then go through the process again and make sure that's done correctly, but primary thing is I just didn't want to make sure that we're going through all these steps again for it to come back and then have second thoughts about it and then all of a sudden reject the request again.
Okay, everybody done with that? There you go, Tom.
Finished? All right, we're gonna move on to item number 7, the city engineer's report. Brian, you absent tonight?
He's sick tonight.
All right.
I got a text from him about 2 o'clock that he was not very well, but I'll take it pretty quickly. Wellness center, so let's see, water quality initiative, grant application was approved. So we awarded, looks to be $75,500 for, $75,500 for some 3 bioretention cells that would cover our stormwater improvements that would be part of the Wellness Center project. We should be receiving some final contracts on that, but so I guess that is good news. We also, Kate Gianni, who actually sent over the water quality initiative program to us, sent over another opportunity, and that would be for Representative Marion Miller Meeks. There's the congressional appropriations that they do, and it looks like they have a program under HUD that would fit well for community center. So that's actually due within this week, but it's a pretty brief application, and figure anything will help. So I'll work with Axiom to get that sent out for that. other thing to look into that is because it would be federal funding, what impacts it would have beyond, so like if we had to have Davis Bacon wages and similar, yeah, BABA would be the big one. I guess we can understand that with the, CDG, downtown revitalization grant, there's some policies you have to make sure you have enacted as an organization, there's some other requirements, but the main consideration would be the cost, what it would potentially have, so that's something we'll be exploring this week, but given that it doesn't have any, potential detrimental impacts, it may be a worthwhile application, and, we can also look at the potential increase of cost of the project and making sure that we're requesting an amount that would offset that at least, so.
Yeah, we just need to make sure if it does have to go bottom, that
Yeah,
they start skyrocketing prices real fast.
so that's something we'll be looking into, which mainly leads to those things to get approved. We still have to accept it, so, if we end up find out there's maybe something we can't do, we'll figure it out there, but, other wellness center update, next city council meeting, Axiom and OPM will be present to give a presentation on the updated, floor plans. There's really not a whole lot different other than there was, changes to add a vestibule to the entrance to meet building codes, a riser room to manage our, fire extinguisher, fire sprinkler system, some other small things like that, but main functionality is all the same. So they'll be here next council meeting to report on that. Okay, I think that's all for wellness center at this point in time. Reminder, we do have, you opt in your water bill to donate to the wellness center. So if you haven't already done that or are wishing to do so, you can do that on our website. There's a progress meeting for the CBD downtown revitalization project. I'm anticipating we'll have another application at the next city council meeting. I haven't seen anything on that yet, but it seems like they've been making some decent progress there. And then last Friday, was the Friday before, Stephanie, we had the job fair folks in there. Okay, 2 weeks ago. Yeah, that was one of the requirements for the CPG project. There was Iowa Works was here doing some resume, so I don't know if they really had.
I wondered. You tried. Yes.
I even called some younger kids that I knew needed some help, but they didn't make it.
But it's still satisfied
But we
the
reached out
obligation.
and
So,
made it available to the community.
yeah,
The only other thing is that we'll have like there's a public hearing that we'll have scheduled here before long. And then IEDA will be in town to do a mid-project inspection, walk through the project, just to make sure everything's in compliance. But that would be coming up probably sometime next month or so in there, but I haven't heard anything from Deanna, who would be handling that.
I did want to say the progress meeting did not happen today. Daniel had his date confused. The progress meeting is actually tomorrow at 3 or 2 o'clock, not today. She came and no one joined her.
she was.
She came today and no one joined her. I had the date confused, so she'll be back again tomorrow.
Nice.
Let's see, capital improvements plans, Axiom has been working on those, project overview sheets, for the AE priorities. Haven't seen those yet, but the plan is to get that all down into one document to be approved. And then the only other thing, capital projects wise, this upcoming, I guess, year, looking at, spring, summer, looking at replacing the playground equipment at Hall Park that was removed, last fall. We have a survey out, and I think as of this afternoon, I checked, there were like 220, 230 responses. Lots of really good feedback on there, not just people, filling out the multiple choice type of things, but some really good solid feedback in the other ideas and comments box there. So that'll be something I'll, I guess, package up, get the data put together and, send it out for you guys to review, but, realistically, we're not gonna be able to do everyone's ideas, but if it can kind of give us a guide on where we should be what we should be prioritizing, or all else being equal, differences in amenities or designs, it gives us a little bit of room to know what the community prioritizes, but, so I think once I get that survey data back to you guys, we should be able to give some guidance to Axiom on designs, for equipment type and surfacing, that sort of thing. Yeah, I think that's all engineering wise right now from Axiom. I have for you. I did send a couple of warranty items to them. There looks like some striping that needs to be looked at on the Cherry Lane tree retention project that's kind of flaked off. That was painted last fall. That would still be under warranty. And then Kevin, you mentioned with Railroad Park, some of the fading and some of the surfacing. I've sent that over to them, getting responses there. But yeah, I think that would be all for Axiom at this point in time. Any questions there? Maybe we can relay back to Brian and his team. Not, we'll see you in the next meeting 2 Mondays from now for a presentation on the Wellness Center.
Right, no further discussion on the report from Axiom. We'll move on to item 8, city administrator's report.
Yep. First thing we have for you is a contract for services, for library services for fiscal year 2027. If you remember, a month ago, Belinda Kaler from the Cornwall Library came and presented their fiscal year 2020, it was their 2025, not fiscal year, 2025 report of services. This is the same contract that we've done, just updated dates and amounts. Last year was 40,000, this year 42,500, which she requested prior, but this would be up for consideration tonight, and this would be for fiscal year 2027 services. We'll start on July 1st, 2026 through June 30th, 2027.
So is there a misprint here on your, in the items under the consideration, page 14 is what I got, on the item 1, appropriations? So the city of Riverside, I will provide an appropriation of $40,000 and 0 cents, and in parentheses, it's got 42,500 for fiscal year 26-27.
I don't think they updated the amount there. We'll have to have them send up an updated contract to make sure that's all correct, but yeah, that would be, just needs that dollar amount updated. Other than that update, any questions on library services?
I think they do an excellent job. They offer a lot more than we used to get, so she's got a lot of energy, that has a lot of good ideas.
I think that, as we talked about when Elizabeth was here, it seems like there's a lot of opportunities once we have the wellness center to, have a place to do more activities, be able to actually maybe have more of I guess, books and things like that here in Riverside. I have continued a conversation with, I guess, City of Kelowna on a library drop, like a book drop here in Riverside, as well as a, like being able to sign up for library cards. But, yes, I think it seems like it's probably gonna be on us to be able to essentially have kind of a mail drop type thing here at City Hall for that. But, yeah, any way we can get people more involved there.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2026-09, approving the fiscal year 2027 contract for library services with Kelowna Public Library in the amount of $42,500.
Thomas would be 09, or 08, sorry, yeah, so we didn't use 08.
Did I
You
say
said
09 or?
09, yeah.
I second.
And I'll get that amount updated there, so everything else is good.
My motion and a second has been made. Any further discussion on that resolution? If not, I'll take a roll call. Ryan?
Aye.
Kevin?
Aye.
Myself vote aye. Lois?
Aye.
And Chris?
Aye.
That resolution passed 5-0.
Perfect. Next thing here. So this would be, for fireworks at Truck Fest. I truly don't know the whole history of it, about it being outside of the, agreement with RAC, for funding. Talked to Alan about it, I think it's something to do with insurance is probably what ended up happening, because we own the property there. I don't know if RAC can necessarily, I don't know how it works, but Alan mentioned that it was something like 5 or 6 years ago, we started paying for it outside of it, but
At least, yeah.
yeah, based off of our purchasing policy, this is outside of what Alan and I can approve, but, it's really great to city council. It's the same amount that we've done essentially every year I've been here at least, but, I know it buys less fireworks than it once did, but, yeah, this would, they want to get their, I guess, JM Displays would want to get their, order in, because we do end up, earlier we order, when they do their order, they can get more for that price, so, but $7,000 would it be for fireworks.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve
Fireworks display agreement for $7,000 with J&M Displays.
And we'll still do a firework display permit and make sure, the fire department's done their inspection of the launch site, and we have a certified launcher, pyrotechnics. I don't think, pyrotechnics engineer, whatever they call them, so.
I'll second.
Might not be able to do it if it doesn't rain.
Yeah.
A motion and a second for the approval of $7,000 for the fireworks display. Any further discussion on that? Travis, have any input? I'll give you this slight moment.
I'm happy with that.
All right. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. That motion passed 5-0.
All right. Next thing I have for you guys is setting a public hearing on proposed fiscal year 2027 property tax rate for April 6th, 2026. Admittedly, I haven't got as much time to work on the budget as I would have liked recently. I'm getting close to having I guess, full draft for you guys to review, but that's something we'll need to be looking at the next couple of weeks together and then getting that ready for adoption. But for what we have tonight is set a public hearing, we have to do for the post tax rate. If you remember, this has to be you can do the meeting on the same night, but it has to be a separate than our regular meeting. So what we'll do is we'll have this, public hearing at 6 p.m. We enter it, exit public hearing, then you can make a motion to consider approving the tax rate, and then we close the meeting, wait 15 minutes or so, and then start the next one. If you remember doing that the last couple of years, that was something with House File 718. But what we're looking at here, $8.10 per thousand tax evaluation is like the standard property tax levy across the state. We end up, because our taxable valuation grew by 2.99%, that puts us in a category where we had a 1% growth reduction factor. So essentially what they're saying is, oh, your assessed valuations would have gone up, so we can reduce your levy to kind of equate that up to get a little bit of property tax relief. So that brings our levy down to let's see, $8.01 and 8.01980. Last year we were at 8.10. The year before that, I want to say it was 7.94 or something like that. And you're going to see jumps year to year because of when property assessments happen. We saw property assessments happen last year. Those are going to be in this for this budget now. So last year we went up to 8.10 because we had growth reduction, but that's the reason for our increase in overall property taxes is just assessed valuations going up. So I tried to explain that in the bottom here. You'll see the city's fiscal year 2027 property tax levy, $8.0198, decreased by 1% since fiscal year 2026 at $8.10 due to a 2.99% rise in taxable valuations. Despite this increase in tax rate, assessed valuations have increased, resulting in increased property tax bills. That's what happened here. So we are still using I guess similar to 8.10, but for ag, $3.37.5 there per thousand valuation. So that's what we got going on there. So that brings our total general fund levy up to $972,272, up from last year's $950,300. Sorry. So about a $19,000 increase over across the entire city. Yeah, that'll be it on that. Like I said, that'll be at the April 6th council meeting where we have that public hearing.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2026-09, set the date of public hearing for the proposed fiscal year 2027 property tax levy. Proposed date is April 6th, 2026 at 6 p.m.
I'll second it.
Any questions on this specific sheet and levy amounts? I'd be happy to answer that. All right. Well, if you do, need to come up on property taxes, we do have questions, I'd be happy to chat about it because that happens to be something I'm quite passionate about.
Nerd.
Sorry.
I'm glad you are. That's good for us.
All right, motion was made to approve resolution. Brian Ryan, seconded by Kevin, to set a public hearing for April 6th, 2026 at the 7 p.m. city council meeting for the
6 p.m.
6 p.m.
Yeah.
for the 2027 property tax rate. We'll take a roll call vote on that if there's no further discussion. Chris?
Aye.
Lois?
Aye.
Myself, aye. Kevin?
Aye.
And Ryan?
Aye.
That resolution passed 5-0.
Okay. All right, another public hearing setting, yeah, I've got enough of those. This would be to future resolution, set the date of public hearing on the plans, specifications, proposed form of contract, the estimated project cost for the sanitary sewer rehabilitation work for March 16th, 2026, next city council meeting. So any questions on that? Dave was here at the last council meeting, kind of went over the timeline of the project. I'll request that he'll be also at this council meeting on the 16th, considering that we'll potentially have some public input on that, and this would be, we'd have final action on, I guess, putting the project out to bid at that meeting too. But at this point tonight, we'll just be setting a public hearing.
Yeah, make sure we make a correction on this page of the public notice that Riverside is in Washington County.
They have insurance, okay, yeah. Get that one first.
I'll make a motion to set the date for the public hearing of plans and specifications, proposed form of contact and estimated cost for construction of sanitary sewer rehab on March 16th at 6 o'clock at the City Hall. Washington County, what is correction, Washington County.
I'll second that one too.
And that was resolution 10.
Correct.
All right, we got a motion on the floor for approving resolution 2026-10 on the public hearing for March 16th, 2026 at 6 PM here in City Hall, Riverside in Washington County. For a public hearing on plan specifications, proposed forms of conduct, tract, and estimated project costs for sanitary sewer rehabilitation work. If there's no further discussion, I'm gonna take a roll call vote. Lois?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
Ryan?
Aye.
And myself, aye. That resolution approved 5-0.
All right, the only other update I had for you right now, Alan approved me to go to, the Iowa Municipal Management Institute, which is every year in Iowa City, Iowa City Management Association puts it on, but that'll be at the end of March, so I'll be out for a few days at the end of the month here, but that's also one of the bigger, legislative updates that we get, so probably, honestly, I'm just gonna have, some news on property tax reform legislation, for, IMI, but just wanted to let you all know about that, and other than that, still working on budget stuff, as I said earlier, so, I'm getting pretty close to having a draft, through the city council, so, don't be surprised if, I reach out about kind of an impromptu, work session to review that here in the coming couple of weeks, so.
Fair enough.
Yeah, do my best on it, but it's all this time.
You want an opportunity to speak?
I don't need one. I just came here.
I didn't ask if we needed one, I asked if you wanted.
I'll take 1 second. I'm just, I was actually late at 5:30, so it took me a moment to get here. But anyway, I'll just say, I'm gonna run again for Washington County Supervisor District 3. My wife tells me it's probably my last time, so it was kind of in the cards, so. Anyway, I'll just say, one more time, and then, if I win, then 4 more years, and if not, well, I wanted to retire anyway. Anyway, I brought some papers, if you guys are interested, if you would, sign them, that'd be great. That's all. Other than that, the county's doing good, we're still working through our budget, so we don't really have that number quite yet, but based on the numbers I saw, we're gonna be more, of course, we're gonna ask for more.
I dropped my, property taxes in the mail tonight on the way down, so.
Yeah.
So you have some money. Too much money.
Yeah.
Don't spend it all in one place.
Right, should be okay.
Just doing your part. Just doing your
I
part.
want to not forget.
We should be okay.
We are 25%.
Yeah. So, anyway, that's all I have.
So we're in closing comments, anyone?
We got a street light at Dollar General.
Yeah, I see, they finally got that
That's
in.
wild.
I just haven't drove by when it's dark.
I know.
Yeah, I didn't even notice
I'm not
it.
allowed to be up there.
They recalled me. I know it's that.
Lois or Chris?
No.
I got one thing, on Snevin Street, we have a sign that's not a through street. Can that be removed yet, or what is our thinking on that?
Technically, it probably could be removed now that we have the Cherry Lane extension across there. One thing I would think though is like, is that something, do we want to encourage people to be using that as the primary, I guess? Yeah, I guess that would probably about the only option, because you're gonna send the people up, Sycamore, and then to go and get Pupfer, and that would be the only other option, so.
So
I guess
what,
you could remove it.
so what sort of work would be involved in that? Would it be like
Pick it up.
just taking it down, or would it be more action through the city to say it comes down?
No, if you're going
So,
to ditch.
I mean, technically, it's a lie right now, because it is a through street.
Yeah, but it's, kind of, that ground's kind of hard, like.
All right,
I make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that. All those in favor of, the motion to adjourn, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion passed. We are adjourned at 7:08. 9?
Yeah.
Are we finished recording? Cole, is the recording done?
How many seconds?
Moves it right along.
I'm at 23.